Hi everyone. Okay, we are trying this again. Let's see. Here we go. Let's see if we can get. Hi everyone. Hi Danielle. Okay.
Okay.
I think it went. Maybe. Ellie, are you able to join?
I can hear you.
I can't see you though.
I can't see myself either. Let's wait. Let's see what's happening. It says connecting.
Oh, there we go. Oh my gosh, it's so good to see your beautiful face.
Thank you. Can you guys see me? I can see anybody.
I can see you. Oh my gosh, we made this work. Okay, everyone, thank you again for joining us for Unplug and Play Live. It's been a mission today. I think Instagram is just as tired of this crazy week, and we can all use a moment to unplug and play. So thank you for joining us. Elie is here with us. She is one of Killerspin's international pros, and we are so excited to have her. We wanted to switch it up this week and do something a little bit different. Julie Nish underscore KZ says she can't see Elie, but I can see you, Elie. Can you see me?
Yes, I can see you.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so we're going to do something a little bit different. I know every week we usually have Felipe and Loopy do a little tutorial for you guys on Unplug and Play, but we wanted to be spontaneous and show you that we can talk about a bunch of things when it comes to Unplug and Play, and the idea of just taking some time for yourself to play and connect with the people around you, and also highlight some of the amazing athletes that are a part of Killerspin. So that's why we have Elie here today. And Elie, thank you again for jumping in here. So am I saying her last name correctly? It's Zaina Budinova.
Used to be. Now I go by Mehl
Oh,
because I got my husband's last name.
you know what? That's a lot easier. So Elie Mehl. I'm gonna go with that. But your career-wide name, like how you gained fame and attention, was under Zaina Budinova, right?
Correct. And you pronounce it very well. Thank you for
Oh my
that.
gosh, thank you. Yes, some girl power today, Marinelli. So my boba
Yes.
life. Hi, Elie. It's Carl. I'm so honored to know such an awesome and famous human. She is. Okay, everyone, if you are
Thank you.
not
Thank you.
familiar with
Good to see you,
Elie,
Carl.
you are probably not familiar with table tennis. I'm so excited to talk with you because you are like a girl boss legend in this arena. You are a champion of Kazakhstan and a Killerspin sponsored pro, as we mentioned. You've appeared on Entourage, which I am like fangirling right now. I love that show so much. You appeared as yourself. You've also been on the George Lopez show, Best Damn Sports Show, and Balls of Fury movie, all making cameos as yourself because of your career in table tennis. So I wanted to hear from you. How did you start your career in table tennis? Like, what was it about the sport that got you inspired?
Well, it's kind of funny. First of all, thank you for having me, guys, and hi, everybody. The way I started, it wasn't like I planned for table tennis. I was thinking about gymnastics. And at the time when I was in Kazakhstan, I was 8. So my sister brought me to gymnastics, but they told me I was kind of already a little bit late for me to start and get the good results because I think in gymnastics, kids start way earlier than that. And my sister had a friend in table tennis, and she said, "Well, why don't we try? Let's go. I know where it is. We're just gonna stop by and see what happens." So we went there, and my coach said, "Okay, come back on Monday at 10 o'clock, and that's how you're gonna start." So thanks to my sister, I started table tennis, not because I chose it. It was kind of table tennis, I guess, chose me.
That is incredible. And I can relate too because I used to be a part of a competitive cheerleading squad growing up. I did co-ed on the high school level and all-star, and then I also did middle and elementary school. So I started with the foundation of gymnastics. And I have to tell you, I think you picked table tennis as the correct sport because I was not very good at it and I did not like it. But I want to hear more about like why table tennis? Why did you love it? And do you remember your first classes when you were getting started and what made you want to keep going with the sport?
Yes, actually, nowadays I'm glad I chose table tennis because apart from gymnastics, table tennis does not really affect your body as much. You know, I think by genetics, whatever you have, you're just gonna keep keep doing that program, you know, versus gymnastics, they usually like you can't grow as much because it's not really good for sport and because you jump so much. So table tennis in this instance, it's kind of more, you know, universal and versatile sport. So I remember when I started, for me, it was a challenge. We started, you know, with the racket and bouncing the ball. And at first, I couldn't really do maybe 5 bounces. And I thought, well, that cannot be like that. I need to kind of become better. So they told me, before you're going to do 100 bounces on your racket, you're not going to approach the table. So you're just going to do this bouncing until you get it. And only then we're going to start. So I guess just setting up the small goals and just being competitive, so I liked the sport because it was kind of inclusive. I met some friends there, and we were in the corner doing this bouncing, like when is going to be our day to go to the table. So, so that's how we started.
And then when you finally did go to the table, you were obviously incredible and excelled so quickly. You've become such a competitive athlete. What was that rise like for you? And when did you transition to doing more table tennis here in the US?
So basically, when I started, you know, at the time it was Soviet Union still. So our kids program, we were traveling. We started traveling to different cities early on. Maybe when I was 9, 10, we were traveling all the time, just doing the different competitions. Among the same kids age, and I like the competitiveness of it. I also like that in the summer camp, I would travel to the summer camp and they always have a table. They have this some kind of Olympic games within the camp, and I would always win. And I like that feeling. I felt like, oh my gosh, this is easy, you know, because I already have some background, but people usually don't expect when they see the little girl, like, oh, you know, most likely she wouldn't win. But then I get to the table, I beat everybody. So I like that feeling. And so table tennis kind of stuck with me. And when I moved to United States, first few years were kind of different for me. So I did not play as much. I wasn't involved in table tennis. But later on, because of the good chance through a friend, through like the club owner I had, Diego. He produced a lot of events for Killerspin, and luckily somehow my phone rang and his phone rang, and he said, "Well, I'm here at this event with Killerspin, so why don't you meet Robert Blackwell and let's see, maybe they will invite you for the tournament." So that's how I got involved with Killerspin.
That's incredible. For anyone just joining us, it is Friday. Drop some hearts if you're ready for your weekends and you're going to unplug and play. Thank you so much for joining us. We are with Elie Mehl and formerly Zena Budanova. I'm going to get that perfect. And
You got it.
we are doing an interview with her. I just wanted to say your career reminds me so much. Have you watched The Queen's Gambit on Netflix?
I just did about a month ago, yes,
So
and I
your
could
career
relate.
reminds me so much of Beth Harmon in that I just picture you as a little girl, like being a prodigy, realizing that you're so good at this sport, and then just keeping on that momentum, keeping it going, and continuing to win. It's really incredible. Would you consider table tennis to still be a male dominated sport?
Well, nowadays, I don't think it's the case. And that's why I personally like table tennis so much, because there are not so many sports where you can be, it's sort of equal, you know. The little girl can play, the older guy can play, and it doesn't always mean that the guys would dominate because, you know, it's the quickness, it's many other aspects of your physics and reaction time. So it doesn't matter. So not always the stronger guy and more muscly guy would win. And that's why we like this sport. So because it makes us more equal, I would say.
I love that. And it's such a good point, especially for everyone watching here, that you don't necessarily have to be, the most built athlete. You can just practice your dexterity. And, there are just so many other ancillary skills that you can build up through table tennis. I want to talk to you about some of those in just a little bit, but also your involvement with Killerspin. Like we mentioned, you're one of our pro athletes. What was it about Killerspin, the brand, and also the products that made you want to join this community?
So first of all, I like that Killerspin was American-based company producing the table tennis equipment. Because table tennis in the United States is kind of different from what I used to grow up in. Um, so I was glad to see that something in within the United States kind of picked up and started like making table tennis more popular within the United States. So I also was attracted to the big events Killerspin was putting together. They would invite the best players from all over the world. They would find a beautiful venue and they would do these exhibition matches, which were so much fun to watch and to participate. And then you could see those events on ESPN. So I like the idea that the general public was finally able to see a little bit more of table tennis and kind of find out for themselves that the sport involves so much more than what people usually think about it in United States in particular.
I think I've seen some photos of your history with Killerspin, some of the really incredible events that you've been a part of. And a lot of them, I think, are just so incredibly star-studded. Do you have favorite moments, like a highlight reel of things that you've done with Killerspin that you love to talk about? I mean, we shared some of the movies that you've been a part of playing yourself as a cameo. What are some of the things that you're most proud of when you look back at your career, the different moments?
Well, particularly in Killerspin, the biggest highlight for me was 2005. We played in Mohegan Sun. That was a beautiful, huge venue. It's a big casino in Connecticut, I believe. And the time when all the best players of the world were invited. So I remember that particular one was like Jorgen Persson came and Janova Wallner came. And those two guys were, you know, when I was a little girl, I had the albums and I had the stickers of them. So I would put them on my sport album and then I would put the big posters on my walls, just, you know, like best players of the world. And then this opportunity comes and I'm the part of this event during the exhibition and like the next table, Jorgen Persson and Wallner play. So I thought that was really cool because, you know, even being the part of the national team, when we go compete for the team, it doesn't necessarily mean like you're really gonna interact with players because everybody stays so focused and you know, they just go to venue, play, and then they just go home to relax. But over here it was quite different. So we had an opportunity to talk. And, you know, I told them how I grew up with their pictures on my album. So that was really fun.
That is so cool. I love that you got a chance to have that full circle moment, especially in the table tennis world. And Felipe is asking if you got to play with him.
Yes, so that was the part. I didn't play a match with him, but I played as a warm up. So, you know, when we come to the venue and there are not so many tables to warm up, so we kind of play cross court. So they were playing together, and Biba and I were playing on the other line, you know, at the same table, and we kind of started talking, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it.
I
But
don't know if
then
I could handle the pressure of that, like playing with my idol that I looked up to growing up, especially if I had a poster on my wall with their
I
face on
know.
it. It would stress me out. But again, I'm so happy that you got that moment to really be amongst the people that you looked up to. And Felipe also adding he is the GOAT. Thank you so much if you're joining us for Unplug and Play Live. We're doing a little interview with Elie Mehl, switching things up. And don't worry because next week, Felipe and Loopy will be back. They're going to do some more tutorials for you guys. Hopefully, we might have another surprise in store. I do want to talk with you about your work with Gilbert Club. Tell us more about how you've transitioned into the ping pong world and using it for good, for therapeutic uses, because I think when people think of ping pong, they think fun. They don't necessarily think of how it can help people.
Yes, I was lucky to meet the owner of Gilbert Club here in LA. His name is Michael Zaretsky, and he's actually kind of came from United States, Soviet Union at the time. So we found that in common, and he invited me to work at the club as a coach. So I've been there for about 13 years, and meeting different people at the club and noticing the interest how the older generation like senior people were coming to the club and they were telling us, well, we have you know, we need to be a little bit more active, we want to find some activity which is for us without, you know, running a lot or like swimming like big laps, so just depending on their ability. And then at the time, the opportunity came for the club to be a part of this program. It was table tennis for people who have Alzheimer's and dementia. So we kind of developed the program, and I was part of it, traveling to the different facilities for assisted living places, and some senior players, I mean, senior people were coming to the club, and we were playing 30 minutes with them, just kind of checking what they can do and how much they can handle. And it was surprisingly, it went well. So we had a lot of interest, and you know, some people were driving to the club with their assist. Somebody was driving them, and then sometimes people were even in a wheelchair, so we would sit them down, give them the racket. Of course, with the coach, it was different because you always send the ball to the same place for them, so it doesn't mean like they would have to run a lot at the table. So surprisingly, they were able to hit the ball back and forth, you know, sometimes up to like starts with 5 times, and then with the classes they were able to hit it 20 times or even 30 times. And we just saw how much good emotions people had during those sessions. And there was a really good feedback. People said, well, yes, of course I did play, but that was so many years ago, and then I haven't touched the racket for so many years, but it just brings the memories back and it gives me good emotions. So they were coming back and doing it over and over. And plus this study which shows that the table tennis activity activates some cells in your brain which none other activity does. So, you know, I don't know, I can tell about my own brain, but I can only hope that because I'm involved in table tennis, so hopefully my brain would stay active for longer.
That is amazing. I had never heard of this kind of therapy before. Did you see a noticeable difference in any of the seniors who were a part of this therapy program? I would think the first and foremost, the biggest thing would be the hand-eye coordination, and also just moving your body, getting that daily movement in is so important, especially as we age.
Correct, correct. And also, well, I did notice that they would just hand and eye coordination definitely would become better because, as I mentioned, they would start with hitting the ball maybe 0 times or 5 times, and they would progress and hit in way more times back and forth with the coach. So definitely better in that instance. And I do hope that maybe it kind of slows down the progression of Alzheimer's or dementia. I cannot say in this area much because of obviously we did not do any deep tests like that. But what I could see definitely better mood, way more positive emotions, better hand and eye coordination, and just the willingness of people to come back. And especially when we interviewed their caregivers, they were saying that, oh, they are waiting for this day to go back and play table tennis. And that really made their day. And that was the highlight of the day. So that just what kept us going and just keep continuing playing with them. I really felt that that's something good. I know that I just felt like that's a good way to give back to community with table tennis.
Absolutely. And I think, as you had mentioned earlier, one of the beautiful things about table tennis is you don't necessarily have to build an incredible amount of, let's say, muscle or mass. You can be exactly how you are because it is a low impact sport, I would imagine, just because of the weight that is needed. It's not like basketball or football or something else where it's a lot of contact. It's literally just the paddle and the ball. So it's great for seniors and also younger kids. I do want to talk about the Gilbert Club more though, because that's where you met your husband. I only bring him up because now you're taking his last name. So there's that. But also he wanted to learn how to play table tennis, and then you guys ended up forming a relationship, and now you're like the cutest table tennis family. So can you tell us more about how you met, how you started training him or helping him on his path with table tennis, and now you guys are raising a family of potentially table tennis pros?
That's quite a funny story. Yes, going back, there was an Olympic Games, I think 2008, and you know, we usually get these calls at the club, and my boss Michael, he said, well, somebody is interested, so why don't you reply? So I replied, and we set up the practice. He said, yes, I will come. So the guy comes in, very tall, maybe like the whole head taller than me, very shy. So we play. we do this session, and then he just leaves right away. Doesn't really talk, barely like hi and bye. So he would just escape. And then after his classes were done, so I guess we started talking a little bit more, and he joined my group class. I was doing the group classes at the time, and he was interested. He said, I only live 5 minutes away, and my background, I had a table growing up in Indiana. We are very competitive. I play with my brother, and I decided to become better. So why don't I take some classes? So we started playing, and then see it worked out well, I guess, for both of us.
Exactly. You got more than you bargained for with that first class. And I love that you say that he said he wanted to get competitive, because I think that's such a big thing in this sport. I mean, every sport, but especially with table tennis, just because it's you and one other player typically. So can you talk about the competition aspect of the sport and how you think it fuels people, but also at the same time, it's a very friendly kind of competition. I think it's different than a lot of other different sports that you can be a part of.
Yes, and I think for me personally, this competitiveness, it was kind of different in every age. As I was growing, as I was little, I was very competitive, and I was crying. Once I lose a point, like I could
Oh.
cry for a few minutes, so I could not even see the table anymore. So basically, if I'm in the good, on the rise and play the good day, it was really hard to beat me. But if I lost my first match, the other matches were kind of easier because I couldn't focus anymore. But with age, I think my goal was to kind of learn how to handle this competitiveness in a kind of graceful way, and to be able the skill of to be able to lose, but with not, I shouldn't say dignity, I guess, but with the class, maybe just to be the classy player and be able to acknowledge that the game was good, that you've done the best you could. But on the different days, we play differently, and that's like in everything else in life. So nowadays, I'm kind of happy for the opponent. If he has a good day, I congratulate him, and it doesn't bother me as much. I'm just happy for the person. And especially when I see that my students are progressing, and we start with them like getting only 1 point of me, and then let's say they can get 6 7 points, or sometimes even play a close game and beat me. So that makes me very happy. And that's how, with years, I guess, I try to learn the competitiveness of this, and just being respectful to your opponent and happy for the other person.
I love those messages, because I think they are so important, not only in table tennis, but in life. How you mentioned just learning to be, someone that can roll with the punches and resilient, and being able to take on a challenge, but also not take yourself too seriously. I'm wondering, like we mentioned, you have 2 kids now who are also passionate about table tennis. I don't know if you want them to be pros, but how do you approach coaching them at that age as someone who was a part of the sport as a young kid?
Well, for me, the story is I never had a table in my life. Because of, I guess, the place where we live, it's not that huge in Los Angeles. We live in an apartment, and we don't really have room unless I change my dining table to the table tennis table, and then
That
use
sounds
that.
good. You can definitely do that, especially with Killerspin tables. They're beautiful.
Exactly. So far I do have mini Killerspin table, and I keep it under my bed, and then once in a while we take it outside, and then we hit with kids. So now they're 7 and 5. So for them it's fun. But in terms of playing professionally, I don't know, probably not in US. I wouldn't say that I would necessarily want them to be professional players, but in general, just to acquire the skill and be good, that's what I really want for them. But the problem is they don't really take good directions from me as their mom.
Yeah.
So I guess the thing is, if I want them to learn, I have to find another coach for them to spend time and teach them, because so far I kind of bargain them a little bit. Well, let's play 15 minutes, you'll get this. Okay, we'll do it. And our neighbors here in the neighborhood, they do have table outdoors. So every time we walk to the park, they ride their scooters in the helmets, and then there is a table, so I bring rackets, so we hit, and I snap a picture, and then people comment like, why do you play table tennis in helmets?
That's so funny. You're like, oh, I'm just really protective of them. I want to make sure in case things get out of hand, they have a helmet on. No, I have a mini table too. So I play here. I'm not very good yet, but I'm working on it with on Plug and Play and Felipe and Loopy's instruction, even over Instagram Live. I feel like I've actually improved. But I love that you're encouraging your kids to also be a part of the sport in whatever way possible. Also, not to, self promote, but maybe you should have Felipe or one of our other pros become one of their coaches, and they'll listen, because kids don't necessarily always want to listen to their mom, especially
Correct.
when you're the one giving some of the repercussions if something happens. I want to talk about the pandemic, though. How have you guys been handling it as a family, and how has Killerspin and this concept of unplug and play helped you to keep things balanced during this time?
So yeah, pandemic hasn't been easy, like for everybody else, right? But we just need to keep going and do what works the best for our family. So in our case, it's, as I said, this table outdoor and our mini table from Killerspin. So that helps us to stay at least a little bit involved with table tennis. So that helps if we bring the table outside and we hit back and forth. And especially for kids, actually it is easier because table is smaller, so they can hit easier. They don't have to hit as hard to clear the table. So that actually works with the mini table. And I also saw this surge of selling the tables during the pandemic because people started being more interested. Everybody stays indoors and just tries to find some kind of sports which works for the family. And, first of all, even if you are, since we're so far away from each other, the table is how many? I think it's 9 feet. And the social distancing is technically 6 feet, even I guess if you invite your friends in the mask, so that you can still possibly play, hit the ball back and forth without being too close to each other, especially if you have a table outdoors, which is in Los Angeles is a great opportunity for that because of our weather. So I do see that table tennis is kind of benefiting and helps people to handle this pandemic, especially with an importance of unplugging and playing. As we all know, especially with pandemic, everybody kind of got more active on the devices, on electronical devices, because even people went to work via Zoom. So many people just stuck at home without leaving their home because there is no need. You work from home, you order your groceries being delivered at home. So it's very important during this time to remember to do some active exercise, whether you're walking or you're playing table tennis or just, even running around for a few minutes.
Look, you and I are virtually talking right now. So I think this is an example of just how much we are on our devices and rely on them for work and for school. How has it been as a parent to implement moments of play for the kids? Do they welcome it? Does it make them feel better at the end of a moment where they get to go outside and actually get moving and play some table tennis?
Yes, of course. It's at first it's hard for them to go, put your devices down. We have to go. They don't want to do that. No, give me 5 more minutes. But once we get out there and they do it, they come home like, oh, mom, that was good. That was a good decision. I think we made the right decision to go and exercise. And I do these push-ups and look at me. I have the strong muscles. So that's their favorite thing now. So they like to
So
show their
cute.
muscles after each physical activity they do. I guess we need to kind of be more like a positive setup, the more positive example for our children and for the generation to come, with us being more active ourselves.
Absolutely. That is so cute. And I love just your little family. I haven't met them yet, of course, because of the pandemic, but I've seen photos and videos of you all. And I think you're such a great example of a family within the Killerspin community. So it's been great to talk with you, not only about you and your career, because it is so amazing, but also just learning from your family, because I think there are so many people a part of our community who are kids, teens, but also, parents, adults who have their own families and are looking for ideas on how to unplug and play. So it's so important. Before we let you go, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us. I wanted to know if you have any tips for beginners or, maybe ongoing players of table tennis to train right now or get into the sport right now.
Well, Yes. So I think if you're alone and you have a table, the good addition would be we have these table tennis machines. We call them robots. So that would be one of the options where you can actually hit to the robot and it always sends the ball to the certain positions you make a setup. And even if you don't have a partner, you can do it that way. And that's, some of them are pretty intense if you can do the high speed. And in that case, you can get a workout on your own. And then if you do have a partner and you're playing together, so I usually recommend kind of stay more consistent because I do see from coaching people so many years, I do see how competitive people get. And in their mind is the game is the stronger you hit, the better you are, whether you win the point or you lose it right away. But from what I usually recommend, just stay more consistent and try to learn more technical things, whether you're going to do it with watching the videos on YouTube or with the tutorials of this live, what Felipe and Lupe do. I've been watching them, so they would go through technical details, and that sometimes will bring you kind of slower steps, but longer lasting results and just keeping the ball in the rally and being more consistent little by little and keep the ball for as many rallies as you can, let's say backhand to backhand, forehand to forehand, and start with the small steps, set up small goals. The improvement in table tennis does not come in a very short period of time, like in many other things. So you have to be very consistent, but kind of the longer, more time you spend learning the skill, the more time it will take you to lose this skill. So hopefully once you got it, it's going to stay with you for the rest of your life. Just be patient, small goals, as long as it makes you feel good. Um, don't forget to have fun because that's the most important thing in playing table tennis.
Elie, Mehl, thank you again so much for joining us. I love talking with you. I know you and I have spoken before, but we haven't gotten a chance to FaceTime. So I'm so excited to have you a part of Unplug and Play Live. And thank you everyone for joining us. We'll be back next week with a normal lesson, hopefully, and we might have a surprise for you guys. So make sure you keep joining us every Friday at 1 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Central. And hope you guys have a great weekend. Elie, I hope you have a wonderful weekend with your family too. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. Likewise. Bye, everyone.
Bye.